I licensed my medical patent for $32 million. It was supposed to be the happiest night of my life. Instead, it became the night I realized my husband wanted me dead. Stick with me while I share my story, and if it touches you, don't forget to support our channel by hitting that subscribe button, dropping a like, and sharing it with the people you care about. My name is Dr. Alara Whitmore. I am a biomedical engineer. For 8 years, I worked on a device that helps repair nerve damage in patients with spinal injuries. When a major medical company finally agreed to license it, the deal changed my life overnight. My husband, Callum Pierce, smiled when the contract was signed. He kissed my forehead and told me he was proud. He said all the right things. We decided to celebrate at home. Just a small dinner. Soft music. Candlelight. 2 glasses of expensive champagne. At first, everything felt normal. Callum kept touching my hand across the table. He kept refilling my glass before it was empty. I remember thinking he seemed nervous, but I assumed it was excitement. Halfway through dinner, I realized I had left my phone in the living room. I stood up to get it. I was gone maybe 30 seconds. When I came back, I stopped in the hallway. Callum was standing by the table. He was holding my champagne glass in one hand. With the other hand, he poured something small and white into it from a folded piece of paper. He stirred it gently with the tip of a spoon. My heart started beating so hard I thought he would hear it. He didn't know I was watching. I stepped back quietly and waited a few seconds. Then I walked into the room like nothing happened. He turned around quickly. For a second, his face looked pale. Then he smiled again. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Yes," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He picked up my glass and handed it to me. "To us," he said. My fingers felt cold as I took it. I could see tiny bubbles rising inside. Nothing looked strange. No color. No smell. I lifted the glass toward my lips, but I didn't drink. Instead, I laughed softly and said, "You know what? Let's switch. I want yours. It looks fuller." He froze. It was only a second, but I saw it. His jaw tightened. His eyes flickered. "Why?" he asked. "Just because," I said, smiling. He forced a laugh and handed me his glass. I gave him mine. He didn't drink it. He kept talking, pretending everything was fine. But the air between us had changed. I knew it. He knew it. That was the moment my marriage ended. I didn't scream. I didn't accuse him. I didn't cry. I just smiled back at him and started planning. "Do you want me to continue with the next outline?" The next morning, Callum acted completely normal. He made coffee. He asked me how I slept. He even suggested we look at vacation homes now that life was about to change. If I hadn't seen what I saw the night before, I would have believed him. But I watched him differently now. Every movement felt rehearsed. Every smile looked practiced. I didn't confront him. I didn't ask questions. Instead, I played along. I thanked him for dinner. I told him I was excited about our future. I even kissed him goodbye before he left for work. The moment the door closed, I poured the champagne from my glass into a sealed container. I wrapped it carefully and placed it in my bag. I needed proof. Callum had always been charming. When we first met, he was confident and warm. He admired my ambition. He said he loved strong women. But over the last year, something had shifted. When my research started gaining attention, he became quiet. When investors called, he left the room. When the first licensing offer came in, he didn't celebrate. He asked how taxes would work. I had ignored those signs. Now they felt loud. That afternoon, I drove to see my old college friend, Dr. Nadine Kessler. She was a toxicologist at a private lab. I told her I needed a favor and that it had to stay confidential. She looked at me carefully. "Alara, what's going on?" I handed her the sealed container. "Test this," I said. She didn't ask more questions. She trusted me. She promised results within 24 hours. That night, Callum came home with flowers. White lilies. My favorite. "I've been thinking," he said softly. "Maybe we should update our life insurance now that things are bigger. Just to protect each other." Protect each other. The words almost made me laugh. I kept my face calm. "Sure," I said. "We can talk about it." He seemed relieved. Later, while he showered, I opened his desk drawer. I had never searched his things before. It felt wrong. But so did almost being poisoned. Inside, I found documents. Insurance forms. Draft copies. My name typed neatly across the top. The coverage amount had increased dramatically. There was also a business card from a financial advisor I didn't recognize. Graham Holloway. I took photos of everything and put the papers back exactly how I found them. The next evening, Nadine called. Her voice was serious. Ilara, there were sedatives in that sample. Strong ones. And something else. A cardiac depressant. In higher doses, it could stop someone's heart. My hand started shaking. Would it look natural? I asked quietly. Yes, she said. It could look like sudden heart failure. I thanked her and ended the call. Callum was in the kitchen when I walked downstairs. He was smiling again, cooking dinner, humming softly. He looked up at me with the same eyes I had trusted for 6 years. How was your day? He asked. I studied his face carefully. It was productive, I replied. And in that moment, I understood something clearly. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was planned. Do you want me to continue to the next part? After Nadine confirmed what was in the champagne, I stopped feeling confused. I started thinking clearly. If Callum tried once, he would try again. But before that, I needed to understand how far this went. Poison was not something you use in a moment of anger. It was something you prepare. The next step was money. I contacted a private forensic accountant named Silas Rowan. I told him I suspected financial manipulation and needed discretion. I did not tell him everything, only that I believed my husband might be hiding assets. Silas worked fast. Within a week, he asked to meet me in person. His expression told me this was bigger than I expected. Your husband opened a limited liability company 3 months ago, Silas said. It's registered under someone else's name. Who? I asked. Bryn Pierce. Callum's sister. My stomach tightened. Silas continued. Funds have been moving into that LLC from joint accounts. Not huge amounts at once, but steady transfers. How much? I asked. Just under 2 million so far. I felt heat rise in my chest. That money came from my consulting contracts before the patent deal. I had trusted him with access. There's more, Silas said carefully. Your life insurance policy was updated recently. The coverage increased to 15 million. I didn't sign anything, I said. You did. Digitally. From your home IP address. I understood immediately. Callum knew my passwords. He had helped me set up my accounts years ago. He hadn't just tried to poison me. He had built a financial exit strategy. If I died suddenly, the insurance payout would clear his debts. The LLC would protect transferred assets. Everything would look organized, legal, clean. I drove home slowly that night. My hands were steady on the wheel, but inside I felt something changing. Not fear. Cold clarity. When I walked into the house, Callum was sitting on the couch reviewing building plans. He smiled like always. You look tired, he said. You're working too hard. Maybe I was. But not anymore. I sat beside him and rested my head on his shoulder. He seemed surprised by the affection. I've been thinking, I said softly. Maybe you're right. Maybe I need to slow down. His body relaxed. Yeah, he said. Yeah, maybe we should take a short trip. Just us. No work. He kissed my hair. I'd like that. I closed my eyes and let him believe I trusted him. That night, while he slept, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. He thought he was ahead. He thought I was still the woman who loved him blindly. But I wasn't that woman anymore. I wasn't going to confront him without protection. I wasn't going to accuse him without evidence strong enough to destroy every excuse he could make. If he wanted to play patient and careful, so could I. And this time I would be ready. 2 days later, I learned why Callum was desperate. Silas called again. His voice was calm, but I could hear tension under it. I dug deeper into the financial trail, he said. Your husband isn't just moving money. He's covering debt. What kind of debt? I asked. High-risk private gambling. Large amounts. He owes nearly $4 million. For a moment, I couldn't speak. Callum didn't gamble. At least, that's what I believed. He once told me he hated casinos. Said they were for reckless people. Who does he owe? I asked quietly. A private poker circle run by a man named Trenton Vale, Silas replied. This isn't small time. These are powerful investors. They don't wait long for repayment. Now everything made sense. For $1 million. That was why the insurance policy had increased. That was why he needed me gone quickly, cleanly, without suspicion. Divorce would expose his debt. My death would erase it. That night, I watched him differently. I studied the way he checked his phone constantly. The way he stepped outside to take calls. The way his jaw tightened when I mentioned finances. I realized something else too. He wasn't angry at me. He was scared. And desperate people make dangerous decisions. Later that evening, he poured us wine. I didn't touch it. You've been distant, he said carefully. Is everything okay? I looked into his eyes. The same blue eyes that once felt safe. I'm just overwhelmed, I replied softly. The deal, the pressure, it's a lot. He nodded, relief flashing across his face. I get it, he said. That's why we need to stick together. Together. The word felt almost cruel. I leaned closer to him, resting my hand on his chest. His heartbeat was steady. Calm. Mine was calculating. I think we should get away for a few days, I said. Somewhere quiet. Just us. He smiled slowly. Like the cabin? Yes, I said. The cabin. The mountain cabin in Vermont was isolated. No neighbors close enough to hear anything. Snow this time of year meant fewer visitors. If he wanted privacy, I would give it to him. But before that trip, I prepared carefully. I met with an attorney named Maribel Cates. I told her everything. The poison, the insurance, the debt, the LLC. I handed her copies of every document Silas found. If something happens to me, I said calmly, all of this goes straight to the authorities. She looked at me seriously. Are you safe right now? I am, I answered. Because he thinks I don't know. I also spoke to Nadine again. She provided discreet toxicology strips that could detect sedatives instantly. I wasn't going to rely on luck twice. When I told Callum I had booked the cabin for the weekend, he hugged me tightly. I'm proud of you, he whispered into my hair. This time, I didn't feel sadness. I felt ready. We drove to the cabin on a Friday afternoon. Snow covered the trees, and the road was almost empty. The silence between us felt heavy, but Callum kept trying to fill it with small talk. He spoke about redesigning the kitchen when we got back, about investing wisely, about our future. I just listened. The cabin was quiet and isolated, exactly as I remembered. One main room, a fireplace, a small kitchen, and a bedroom upstairs. No close neighbors. No cameras. No noise except the wind outside. Perfect privacy. That evening, I acted softer than usual. I laughed at his jokes. I leaned into him while we sat by the fire. I wanted him comfortable. I wanted him confident. I'm glad we did this, he said. We needed time alone. I agree, I replied. Later, he stood up. I'll make you some tea. You look tired. My body stayed calm, but my mind sharpened. In the kitchen, I heard the clink of a spoon against a cup. I quietly walked behind the half wall separating the living room from the counter. I couldn't see everything clearly, but I saw enough. His back was slightly turned. His shoulders tense. His hand moved toward his jacket pocket before returning to the cup. When he brought the tea to me, he smiled gently. Chamomile, he said. It'll help you sleep. I took the cup carefully. The steam rose normally. The color looked normal. But I slipped one of the small test strips from my sleeve and dipped it quickly while pretending to adjust the napkin. Within seconds, the edge of the strip changed color. Positive. I felt a strange calm settle over me. Instead of confronting him, I switched the cups when he turned to grab something from the table. He didn't notice. We drank. Or at least I pretended to. About 20 minutes later, I let my body relax. I slowed my breathing. I allowed my eyelids to droop. I don't feel well, I whispered. He looked at me carefully. Watching. I let my body slide off the couch onto the floor. Ilara, he said sharply. I didn't respond. For a few long seconds, he didn't move. Then he knelt beside me. I felt his fingers press against my neck, checking my pulse. He didn't call 911 immediately. He waited. I counted the seconds in my head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. His breathing grew faster. I heard him stand up and start pacing. Finally, he grabbed his phone. But before he could dial, headlights flashed through the window. There was a knock at the door. Loud. Firm. Callum froze. When he opened it, 2 paramedics and a local officer stepped inside. I opened my eyes slowly as they approached me. I think she's reacting to something, Callum stammered. One paramedic looked at him carefully. Sir, we received a call about a possible poisoning risk at this location. Callum's face drained of color. He turned to look at me. And this time I didn't pretend anymore. I sat up slowly while the paramedics helped me onto the couch. Callum stared at me like he was seeing a ghost. You were unconscious, he said. No, I replied calmly. I wasn't. The officer stepped forward. Sir, we're going to need you to stay right here. Callum's hands started shaking. This is insane. She just felt dizzy. One of the paramedics held up the teacup. We'll test this. Within minutes, the field strip confirmed sedatives in the drink. Strong ones. The officer's tone changed. Sir, is there anything you'd like to tell us? Callum looked at me, searching my face for something. Fear, mercy, confusion. He found none. This is a misunderstanding, he said quickly. She's under a lot of stress. Maybe she added something herself. I almost smiled. Check his jacket pocket, I said quietly. The officer did. Inside was a small folded packet with crushed tablets. Callum's shoulders dropped. The confidence drained out of him. You don't understand, he said to me. I didn't have a choice. For $1 million. That was his excuse. By the time we returned to Boston, everything was moving quickly. The tea sample, the packet in his pocket, and the preserved champagne from weeks earlier were all submitted as evidence. Nadine provided a full toxicology report. Silas handed over financial records showing the insurance change and the hidden LLC. It wasn't just suspicion anymore. It was a pattern. Callum was arrested and charged with attempted poisoning and insurance fraud. His sister Bryn was questioned about the LLC. The gambling debt surfaced during the investigation. In court months later, he looked smaller, thinner, not like the confident man who once toasted to us. He tried to argue desperation. He claimed fear of financial ruin. He said he loved me but panicked. The judge wasn't moved. When it was my turn to speak, I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I built something to save lives, I said steadily. And the person closest to me decided mine was worth more dead than alive. The courtroom stayed silent. Callum avoided my eyes. He was sentenced to prison. Afterward, I sold the waterfront house. I removed his name from everything. I expanded my research lab and focused on the device that started it all. Sometimes I still think about that first glass of champagne. The sparkle. The quiet betrayal. But I don't feel pain anymore. I feel clarity. He underestimated me. He thought I was just a scientist who trusted too easily. He forgot that scientists test everything twice. And this time I tested my marriage. It failed.